Assalamualaikum and good greetings. So today I'll be watching a video by Ilyas titled How I Stopped Eating Pork in bracket because of Islam. Well, that's the obvious part, because of Islam, but I'm interested to know about the how I stopped eating pork part, right? Is it because for a Muslim, I'm not sure, because stop eating something like that, is it a challenge? Yeah, that's the question actually, right? And because if it is a challenge, then that is where the question on how did you do it comes in place, right? But I never thought that it stop eating pork is or would be a challenge, like stop drinking, for example, etc., right? But anyway, without further ado, let's watch.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. In today's video, I want to talk about how I
Waalaikumsalam
actually stopped
warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
eating pork and the process of how, as someone who used to be a non-Muslim and used to eat pork in the past, and how I gradually changed my diet and the process of it, of how I actually stopped eating pork altogether. The reason I want to make this video because in the past I used to think that it is actually hard to not eat pork in my diet, right? Because as a non-Muslim, pork, it's common, it is everywhere. And especially also as a Chinese, it is sort of like part of the culture as well, because Chinese people just love pork. And also in some places or some countries, some people might also find it hard because there is pork all around you, right? In the food court, in the restaurants. And these are the challenges that Muslim converts have to go through, right? And this is one of just the challenges, which is the daily diet. But before we start the video, remember to like the video, remember to subscribe and turn on notifications if you are new, and watch till the end of this video and let me know your thoughts and leave your comments down below. As many of you know, I converted to become a Muslim at the start of this year in March 2020. But I did not only stop eating pork during that time. It is very hard to change like everything overnight, right? Like one day you just change everything and stop eating pork. It is very hard because there is a lot of factors involved. And so I actually started to reduce my pork consumption and eating of pork products maybe 6 months before I became a Muslim. And that was when I actually learned about why pork is haram, right? There's many reasons, such as the diet of pigs. They grow up and live in the mud and their excrements, and they don't sweat, and so there's a lot of dirt in their body. And so generally the pork meat is unclean, and this is one of the strongest reasons out there of why pork is prohibited. But of course Allah knows best on why He prohibits us on pork, but many people say that it is because of the meat is unclean. And also at that time I also learned that it is not only Islam that prohibits pork, right? There's other religions. If you look at the religious scriptures and the text, such as Christianity, if you look at the Bible, it actually prohibits consumption of pork. And that was the time where I started to reduce my pork consumption after learning about the reasons why. And I started to avoid pork food early because I know that I can't do it overnight, right? I can't become a Muslim one day and then I just stop eating pork, because it is very hard to do that. So whenever I actually go out to lunch or dinner with my friends or my family, I will try to avoid pork food. And there's two reasons why I'm doing this. The first reason is because I want to get myself used to the decision making of not choosing pork food and going for halal food instead. And the second reason is because I want people around me to know that I'm avoiding pork and not eating pork. And it actually makes things a lot easier, right? Because when people around you, your friends or your family, know that you're actually avoiding pork or not eating pork, they will actually try and avoid restaurants or places that sell pork, right? They will try and go for halal places instead. And if they do buy food for you or buy snacks for you, they will try their best to avoid stuff that contains pork. And so it makes things a lot easier because it reduces the peer pressure, and it also makes you not have to hide anything, right? Not have to hide anything in front of friends, so it just generally makes things a lot easier. And so once I got used to not eating pork, and my people around me know, my friends, there was also one more hurdle, right, that I actually had to go through, which is my family, right? Because if you all live in the family, usually your mom will cook the food, right? And when she cooks the food, it is not only for you, it is for the whole family. So this is also one of the hard things, to to go through, because at that point of time I haven't told my mom that I'm going to Islam classes and I'm going to convert to become a Muslim soon, so she doesn't know anything yet.
That is interesting that all of this is happening before he is officially a Muslim. Right? Basically, that already means that he is dedicated to become a Muslim, right? So that's one thing. Second, I have never considered those points, because when I said, what is so difficult about not eating pork? Because it's just choice, right? But yeah, the reality is peer pressure is a real thing, right? And if you do not, or not being upfront with them, and suddenly they bring, meaning those circumstances can become awkward, or it's hard for you to navigate, etc., right? So he already touched upon that one. Also, I forgot to consider that many people still live with the parents, etc., and how to deal with that, because the one that is preparing the food, you know.
And it is actually a hard thing to say, you know, because the food, it not only involves you, but it also involves people in the family, right? Because she cooks for the whole family. So it is actually very hard to tell her before she actually knows that I'm studying about Islam and becoming a Muslim soon. It is very hard to tell her that I'm not eating pork. And so I just try my best to avoid pork food as best as I can before I became a Muslim. Example, when there's like pork on the table, you know, I would just try to not eat it and hope that, you know, I don't get noticed. But alhamdulillah, things actually became much easier when I actually told my mom that I'm going for Islam classes. Of course, there were, like, you know, some disagreements. You can watch that from the previous video. But once she knows that, and after a while, I told her that I'm not going to eat pork. I stopped eating pork. The surprising thing about her reaction was that she just said, like, oh, okay, something like that, you know. There was no like, oh, why you do this, why you do this. There was no such reaction, you know. It was just like, oh, okay. And I was also shocked that, oh, it was actually pretty easy, right? Not as hard as I thought it would be. I guess because she already knows that, you know, if you watch my previous video, she actually really knows that, you know, I am serious about becoming a Muslim, and I guess she respects my decision. That's why it was an easy thing to say and for her to accept. And so from then on, it is actually much easier already. There's no pork around, you know. When family goes out for you know, to a restaurant or something, you know, we just try to, you know, go for a halal place, and it's actually much easier when, you know, your family actually knows about it. And so the process is actually very long, you know. It's like 6 months long process from actually making the decision to try and avoid pork to actually, you know, one day actually tell my mom that I'm stopping to eat pork. And it is a long process that I have to get myself used to, and not only myself, but I also have to get people around me, and most importantly my family, used to it, because in the family everyone eats together and eats the same food that my mom cooks, right? So also have to get everyone used to it. And alhamdulillah, the process has been over and done with, and this is the process that many Muslim converts have to go through, right? Getting used to not eating pork in their diet, and most importantly, for those living with the family has to know it as well, because if there's someone that cooks in the family, you know, it is for the whole family, right? The whole family is involved in the food as well. So alhamdulillah, this process is over for me. But for those who are going through this process, or going to be going through this process in the future, I hope that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes it easy for all of you and makes your journey smooth. And let me know what you think in the comment section down below. I hope that all of you enjoyed my sharing of my experience. I will see all of you in my next video, inshallah. I hope that all of you have a nice day. Jazakallahu khairan. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Bye-bye.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. That is interesting. I never really thought it in that way. So several things. One, I never thought it is actually a big problem to begin with. So sometimes, you know, listening to the stories of those who faces challenges, or from a big different background, or, you know, going through something that you don't, really expose you to be more appreciative of what they actually face, right? Because if it's easy for us, it's easy for me, and never have this kind of challenge, it might not be for other people, right? Because the surrounding, the family, the friends, etc. So that's number one, that sometimes we overlook. We think that I can do it, why can't everyone? Inshallah they can as well, but the challenges that they face, you cannot downplay that, right? So that's number one. Number two, even you have challenges, there's a way out of it, and there's a way to maneuver around it, I think, as mentioned here. So that's another thing that, for those who are facing anything, it's best that we, search for those who have going through it successfully, etc. That the solution might be more straightforward than you think sometimes, right? Like in this case, it become easier when everything is out in the open, because they know, and then they will try to help, through friends, etc, etc, rather than trying to, that will be much more difficult, I would say. So great sharing, I would say. It did open my, it made me realize something that I never realized before. So that was good. And if you get that from watching something, meaning that you gain some benefit from that, and hopefully it is beneficial for me moving forward in whatever endeavor that I will be in, inshallah. So that will be it for this video. Thank you for watching. See you next time.